The betrayal hit Eliza like shattered glass against bare skin as she stared at her brother's planner. The words, "Cancel Eliza's invite," scrawled in his familiar handwriting, a devastating discovery that made her 27 years of sisterly devotion feel suddenly worthless. She hadn't meant to snoop. James had left his planner open on the kitchen counter when he stepped out to take a call, and Eliza had simply glanced down while waiting for her coffee to brew. But there it was, dated 3 weeks ago, right around when the family reunion invitations had mysteriously stopped arriving at her apartment. The reunion was tomorrow, and she'd been trying to reach James for days to confirm the details. Eliza's fingers trembled as she poured her coffee, splashing hot liquid onto the counter. The family reunion at their grandparents' lake house was the highlight of her year, the one time when all the cousins, aunts, and uncles gathered from across the country. She'd taken time off work, bought new clothes, and even prepared her grandmother's secret recipe brownies that everyone always raved about. And now, it seemed her own brother had deliberately excluded her. Memories flooded her mind. James and Eliza building sandcastles by the lake, teenage James teaching her to drive in their grandfather's old pickup truck, adult James standing proudly beside her at her college graduation. How could the same person who had been her protector and confidant for as long as she could remember suddenly decide she wasn't worthy of inclusion in a family tradition? The apartment door opened and James walked in, still talking on his phone. When he spotted Eliza standing by his planner, his expression shifted from surprise to something that looked suspiciously like guilt. He quickly ended his call. "Hey, Liz, what are you doing here? I thought we were meeting for coffee next week." His voice was casual, but his eyes darted to the planner. "Were we?" Eliza asked, her voice barely above a whisper. She pointed to the open page. "Is that why I haven't gotten details about tomorrow's reunion? Because you canceled my invitation?" James frowned, stepping forward to look at what she was pointing to.
"What?"
"No, that's not." "Don't lie to me." Eliza cut him off, anger replacing her initial shock. "It's right there in your handwriting. Cancel Eliza's invite." What else could that possibly mean? James ran his hand through his hair, a gesture so familiar it made Eliza's heart ache despite her anger. "Liz, you don't understand. That's not about the family reunion." "Then what is it about?" she demanded, coffee forgotten. "Why have I been calling and texting for weeks with no response? Why did Mom change the subject when I asked her about the details? Why does everyone in this family suddenly seem to be avoiding me?" James sighed heavily, closing the planner. "It's complicated." "Uncomplicated," Eliza said, crossing her arms. "I deserve to know why my own brother is trying to cut me out of family gatherings." "I'm not cutting you out of anything," James insisted, frustration evident in his voice. "That note was about canceling an invitation to a surprise party. For you." Eliza blinked, momentarily thrown off guard. "A surprise party? For what?" "Your promotion," James said, looking genuinely distressed now. "The one you were supposed to get 3 weeks ago. Mom and Dad and I had planned this whole celebration for you at the lake house, the day before the reunion. We were going to surprise you, but then you called Mom crying because they gave the promotion to Brendan instead." The memory of that devastating phone call with her mother came rushing back. Eliza had been certain the regional manager position was hers after 5 years of dedicated work. Finding out it went to Brendan, who had only been with the company for 2 years, had been crushing. "So, we canceled the surprise party," James continued, "but of course you were still invited to the reunion. We've been trying to figure out how to cheer you up, not exclude you. I'm sorry I haven't been responding much. I've been swamped at work, and honestly, I wasn't sure what to say after your promotion fell through." Eliza felt the anger slowly drain from her body, replaced by confusion and a tinge of embarrassment. "But why hasn't anyone sent me the details about tomorrow? I've been asking everyone." James looked genuinely puzzled. "What are you talking about? Mom sent out the email with all the information last week. Didn't you get it?" Eliza pulled out her phone, scrolling through her emails. "I didn't see anything from her." "Check your spam folder," James suggested, moving to stand beside her. Sure enough, there it was. The detailed email about the family reunion, complete with directions to the lake house, a list of what to bring, and a note from their mother asking if Eliza would still be making her famous brownies. The email had been flagged as spam, probably because of the multiple attachments and the large recipient list. "Oh," Eliza said quietly, embarrassment now fully replacing her anger. "I didn't check my spam folder. I just assumed that we all suddenly hated you and were plotting against you." James finished, a small smile playing at his lips. "Come on, Liz. You know us better than that." She did know them better than that, which made her feel even worse. "I'm sorry. I jumped to conclusions." James shrugged. "It's understandable. You've had a rough month with the promotion thing, and finding that note without context would freak anyone out." Eliza glanced back at the planner. "So, the party was going to be at the lake house?" "Yeah," James confirmed. "We had it all planned out. Decorations, your favorite foods. Everyone was going to be there early. Dad even bought that expensive champagne you love." A wave of sadness washed over Eliza. Not because she'd missed a party, she wasn't that shallow, but because her family had gone to such lengths to celebrate a victory that never happened. Because they believed in her even when her company hadn't. "I really thought I was going to get that promotion," she said softly, voicing the disappointment she'd been carrying for weeks. James wrapped an arm around her shoulders. "I know. You deserved it. That Brendan guy must have some serious connections." Eliza laughed despite herself. "Actually, he's pretty qualified. I just thought I had more experience." "You do," James assured her. "And there'll be other promotions. Or other companies that will value you properly." Eliza leaned into her brother's side, grateful for his unwavering support. "So, the reunion is still on for tomorrow?" "Absolutely. Everyone's looking forward to seeing you. Grandma specifically asked if you were bringing the brownies." "I already made them," Eliza admitted. "Even though I thought I might not be welcome." James squeezed her shoulder. "You're always welcome, Liz. Your family. Nothing changes that." The words were simple but powerful, a reminder of what truly mattered. Not promotions or professional recognition, but the unbreakable bonds that held them together through misunderstandings and mistakes. The next day, as Eliza drove to the lake house with a container of brownies on the passenger seat, she reflected on how quickly her emotions had spiraled from betrayal to understanding. She'd been so ready to believe the worst, to assume her brother, her closest ally since childhood, had suddenly turned against her. All because of a misinterpreted note and a spam filter. The familiar gravel road crunched beneath her tires as she approached the lake house. Cars already lined the driveway, and she could see figures moving about on the deck overlooking the water. Her heart swelled with anticipation and love. As she parked and gathered her things, a memory surfaced. 5-year-old Eliza falling off the dock, the panic of water closing over her head, and then James's hand grabbing hers, pulling her to safety. He'd been only 8 then, but he'd reacted without hesitation. "I've got you, Liz," he'd said as she coughed up lake water. "I'll always have you." And he had, through childhood squabbles, teenage heartbreaks, college challenges, and now adult disappointments. One miscommunication couldn't erase a lifetime of loyalty. The screen door of the lake house slammed, and James appeared on the porch, waving enthusiastically. "Hurry up, slowpoke. Everyone's waiting." Eliza grabbed her bags and the brownies, smiling as she made her way to the house. The familiar sense of her grandmother's cooking and the sound of family laughter drifted from inside. This was where she belonged. This was what mattered. As she reached the porch, James held the door open with a theatrical bow. "After you, Ms. Almost Regional Manager." "Very funny," Eliza retorted, but she was smiling as she stepped inside. The living room was crowded with family, all turning to greet her with warm smiles and hugs. Her mother rushed forward to embrace her, whispering, "I'm so glad you're here, honey." "Me too, Mom," Eliza replied, meaning it with all her heart. As she moved through the room, accepting hugs and answering questions about her drive, Eliza noticed something odd. There were decorations, subtle ones, but definitely there. Blue and silver streamers, her favorite colors, were tastefully draped along the ceiling beams, and a small stack of wrapped presents sat on the side table. She caught James's eye across the room, raising a questioning eyebrow. He just winked and tapped the side of his nose. Their grandmother appeared at her elbow, frail but sharp as ever at 86. "James told us what happened," she said without preamble. "About you finding his planner." "Oh," Eliza said, feeling heat rise to her cheeks. "Yeah, that was a misunderstanding." "No," her grandmother corrected firmly. "That was you not knowing your own worth. Thinking we could ever not want you here." She patted Eliza's cheek with a papery hand. "Silly girl. Now come help me in the kitchen. I need someone who knows the difference between dill and parsley, unlike your cousin Thomas, who nearly ruined the potato salad." As Eliza followed her grandmother to the kitchen, James appeared in the doorway, glass of wine in hand. "By the way," he said casually, "I brought someone I want you to meet later. Friend of mine from work. He's starting a new marketing firm and mentioned they're looking for someone with exactly your experience level." Eliza narrowed her eyes. "James, what?" he asked innocently. "Can't a brother introduce his talented sister to potential opportunities? Besides, this guy's cool. You'll like him regardless." Before Eliza could respond, their father called everyone to gather in the living room. James steered her through the doorway, where the entire family stood waiting with expectant smiles. "What's going on?" Eliza whispered. "Well," James whispered back, "we already bought all this stuff for your party, and Mom said it would be a shame to let it go to waste." Their father cleared his throat. "Eliza, we know things didn't work out with that promotion, but we want you to know how proud we are of you anyway. You work hard, you never give up, and you always put family first." He raised his glass. "So, we're not celebrating a promotion tonight. We're celebrating you, just for being the amazing person you are." To Eliza, everyone chorused, raising their glasses. Emotion welled up in Eliza's throat as she looked around at the faces of her family, all there for her, all loving her not for what she achieved, but simply for who she was. The misunderstanding of the previous day now seemed absurd in the face of such overwhelming evidence of belonging. James leaned close to her ear. "See? I told you that note wasn't about uninviting you to the reunion. It was just about changing the theme of the party." Eliza elbowed him gently in the ribs. "You could have been clearer in your planner. And you could have checked your spam folder," he retorted with a grin. "I guess we both learned something." Later, as the evening mellowed into storytelling and laughter around the fire pit by the lake, Eliza found herself sitting between James and her grandmother, watching the flames dance against the darkening sky. The weight she'd been carrying since losing the promotion, the sense of failure and inadequacy, had lifted, replaced by the certainty that some things couldn't be taken away, no matter what happened in the professional world. "You know," her grandmother said softly, eyes on the fire, "when I was about your age, I thought I had life all figured out. Had my heart set on opening a little bakery in town. Had the loans lined up, the location picked out, everything. Then the bank pulled out at the last minute, gave the money to some man with half my experience, but twice my connections." Eliza turned to look at her grandmother in surprise. She'd never heard this story before. "I was devastated," her grandmother continued. "Thought my life was over. Cried for days. Then your grandfather, we were just dating then, came to see me. Instead of the sympathy I expected, he brought me a newspaper with 3 job listings circled and a bus schedule to the city." She chuckled at the memory. "I was so angry at him. Thought he didn't understand what I was going through." "What happened?" Eliza asked, drawn into the story. "I took one of those jobs out of spite, determined to prove how miserable I would be without my dream. Ended up working for a catering company that served all the high society events in the city. Met people I never would have encountered in my little bakery. Learned techniques from chefs trained in Europe." Her eyes twinkled in the firelight. 5 years later, I had enough connections and capital to open not just a bakery but a full restaurant. Much more successful than my original plan would have been." James leaned forward. "I didn't know you had a restaurant, Grandma." "I didn't keep it long," their grandmother replied. "Sold it for a tidy profit when your father was born. But that's not the point of the story." She turned back to Eliza. "The point is, sometimes when one door closes, it's not the universe being cruel. It's just redirecting you to a better door you hadn't noticed yet." Eliza let the words sink in, feeling their wisdom settle into her bones. Thanks, Grandma. Her grandmother patted her knee. You're welcome, dear. Now, I believe your brother has been trying to catch your eye for the last 5 minutes. Probably wants to introduce you to that young man he brought. Good-looking fellow, by the way. Sure enough, James was gesturing from across the fire, standing next to a tall man with glasses and an interesting face, not conventionally handsome, but intelligent-looking and with a kind smile. Eliza rolled her eyes at her grandmother's not-so-subtle matchmaking, but stood up anyway. As she crossed to where James waited, she felt a profound sense of gratitude wash over her. For her family, for their unwavering support, and even for the misunderstanding that had led to this moment of clarity.